So the first kits I'm going to show you how to pot up are the Angel Vine Planter Scalloped Planter Kit, the Angel Vine Trio Kit, and the Angel Vine Kit, which is just it on its own. So Angel Vine, which is here, is a beautiful trailing plant. So it does well in the garden, doesn't like frost really, it's not particularly hardy. If it's in a sheltered position in the garden, it will be okay during winter, but if not, it needs to come inside. It's a really easy plant to look after. I'll go through all those tips in a moment, but it's one of those plants that isn't really high maintenance, is quite happy in a sunny spot, is also happy in sort of a room that maybe only gets sunlight part of the day. Mine is in my kitchen, north facing kitchen, and I've had it for about 6 months. It's in a rattan planter and it is just trailing everywhere and it's beautiful. So a really easy plant to look after. So I will start planting the planter up first. So in your scallop planter kit, you'll get this gorgeous scalloped planter and saucer, gorgeous raw terracotta. It ages beautifully. This is how it comes when it's brand new. And you will also obviously get your gravel, your compost, your moss, and your plants. And then obviously you've got this tutorial which will show you how to do everything and how to look after it. So if I start with the gravel, now this month I thought we would use a different part of the studio because the other part is being sort of renovated for the next pop-up shop. So we're just having some work done. So we're in the sort of main part of the studio here. So adding a sort of layer of compost on the bottom, I would say possibly, yeah, like probably 2 big handfuls. And then you take your plants and let's start potting them in. So you might find that the root system is quite mad. That one's not so crazy, but that's fine. And then you just simply place them in a sort of triangle shape in your planter. Now, if you find that near the base there are some yellower leaves, you can take those off. That just means that that sort of leaf hasn't got as much sunlight as the others, but it's just because sometimes they get overcrowded. But it's not a problem, it's not a sign that it's dying, it's purely sort of a sunlight situation. So you just pick it off and discard it, and that's absolutely fine, and then it will carry on growing. Now, we've not had these long in the greenhouse and they have really started to go. You can trim them down. Let's move that a little bit. But as you can see, they just drape beautifully over the pot. And they're a gorgeous shade of green. They're not sort of a lime green. They're quite a sort of a fresh green. And then you start to add in the compost in the sort of 3 sort of sections where the gaps where your plants have been put in. And then just gently compress everything down a little bit, making sure there's not sort of any big air pockets. Okay, and now we'll add in the moss. So in your kit you'll have 2 different types of moss. You'll have the bun moss, which is this sort of chunkier kind of sort of pillow moss, and then the flat moss, which is more of a kind of like a woodland feel. So start adding in your moss by breaking it up and just putting it on top of the soil. And sort of underneath the trailing sections. and then obviously popping some in the middle as well. Now, just to go over some care for the angel vine, it's really, really easy to look after, as I said. So you can keep it in a sunny room or a shaded room. So if you've got a room where you think, oh, nothing lives in here, nothing survives, then the angel vine is the plant for you. As I said, mine is in Northwest and it's perfectly happy. So yeah, a really easy plant, just keep it damp. Don't let it dry out. It will show you, it will tell you if it's thirsty, because the leaves will go quite sort of crinkly and start to curl. But all is not lost if that does happen, because again, it's such a kind of hardy plant. You could just give it a really good drink and it will be fine. As you probably saw, the root system is quite sort of prolific. It's quite long, so those roots aren't going to be happy if they're sat in sort of water for long periods of time. So although I'm saying keep it damp, don't keep it sort of waterlogged and really, really soggy. So if there's water in the saucer, make sure you empty that out after it's had a good drink. And that's about it. So that's the planter done. So I'll pop that to the side. And then I will show you how to pot up the trio. And then the trio is basically can be replicated into the angel vine kit, which comes in this 12 centimetre castle pot. So I'll do the trio for you, and then that is the same sort of technique, just in the angel vine kit. Okay, so in this trio kit you will receive your 10 centimetre castle pots. They are adorable, they are gorgeous with plants in, but they are also gorgeous sort of on their own, just styled on their own. Okay, so let's add in the gravel. So just share it amongst your 3 pots, the gravel that comes in the bags in your kit. Okay, and then add in just a sprinkling of compost. Okay, and then gently sort of push that down. And then if you take your pot, see what I mean about the roots, they can be quite sort of long. You can snip those off, they'll be absolutely fine to do that. Okay, so then that just goes into your pot, and then you simply push that down. And then if you want to, if you have any compost left over, if you've put less in sort of in the bottom, you can just put a little sprinkling over the top, and then again just push that down. When you water your plants, they will settle beautifully. So that's the first one. And then the second one. I appreciate you probably think I'm bonkers for doing this on a linen tablecloth, but needs must when our table is out of action in the other part of the studio. But yeah, it'll be fine. I'll give it a wash. Okay, so just adding in a little sprinkle of compost, just so it's getting those nutrients from that sort of the new addition of compost on top. And the last one. And again, as I said with the planter, if you find that you've got some slightly yellower leaves, sort of they're usually in the centre of the plant, you can just simply take those off. So I've got one here. So just discard that. It's completely normal. It doesn't mean that the plant is dying or there's anything wrong with it. It's purely just that, obviously, as you can see, it goes quite crazy, and it just means that leaf hasn't had quite as much sunlight as the other leaves in the plant. Okay, so now we can start adding in the moss. So I'm just going to use some of this flat moss first. I'm just going to pop it on top of where the soil is. And then add some of the bun moss. So the bun moss, you can take the sort of root system off. So you simply just kind of snap it off. And that just makes it a little bit less sort of chunky, so it sits a bit better. Okay. Now these kits are ideal for tablescaping. So if you had excuse me, you know, friends over for a roast dinner and you wanted something to sort of dot amongst, you know, your beautiful plates and cutlery and crockery and things like that, if you really wanted to kind of create a sort of, you know, a gorgeous looking table, these are perfect. They trail, you can drape them amongst everything. It just creates such a lovely kind of layer of texture on a dining table. Equally, you know, they're kind of, I suppose, economical in that you get 3 in the trio kit and you can then dot them amongst your house. Okay, so there we have it. So just to sort of reiterate tips, keep your angel vine damp, not soaking, but damp, don't let it dry out. Put it somewhere sunny or somewhere shady in the house. You can keep it in the garden. It doesn't love frost. So if you are keeping it in the garden throughout winter, keep it somewhere sort of sheltered, so it's not going to get killed by the first frosts. But in my opinion, it's just a beautiful plant, easy plant to look after, and an easy plant to have in the home. So that is your angel vine planter, your angel vine kit, which is basically a bigger version of one of these, and then your angel vine trio.